The sun was just peeking over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Jack and his little sister Annie stood on the dock, their hearts thumping like drums. They were about to go on the biggest adventure of their lives. Next to them stood their new friends, Leo and Mia, who were marine biologists. Today, they were all going to journey to the bottom of the ocean. Their mission was to find the most famous shipwreck in the world, the Titanic. Annie bounced on her toes, her eyes wide with excitement. She clutched her small backpack, which held her favorite notebook and a bright yellow crayon, ready to draw everything she saw on their incredible journey. Jack, on the other hand, felt a little knot of nervousness in his stomach. He looked at the vast, deep blue ocean stretching out before them. It looked so big and mysterious. He had read so many books about the Titanic and knew its sad story. Thinking about how deep they had to go made his palms feel a little sweaty. He took a deep, shaky breath and tried to look brave for Annie. Leo noticed his worried expression and gave him a reassuring smile. "Don't you worry, Jack," Leo said kindly, his voice calm and steady. "Our submarine, the Neptune, is the safest vessel in the whole world. We'll be perfectly fine down there." Mia helped them put on their special blue jumpsuits. The suits were warm and comfortable, designed to keep them cozy in the cold depths of the ocean. She handed them each a special headset so they could talk to each other inside the submarine. "Ready, explorers?" she asked with a cheerful grin, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Jack and Annie nodded together, their excitement now overpowering any lingering fears. They were a team, ready to uncover secrets hidden far beneath the waves. The air smelled salty and fresh, and the sound of seagulls calling overhead felt like a special send-off for their mission. They walked towards the small, bright yellow submarine bobbing gently in the water. It looked like a friendly sea creature from a storybook. Its name, Neptune, was painted in big blue letters on the side. A round window, like a giant eye, promised them a perfect view of the underwater world. Jack took one last look at the sunny sky above before climbing down the ladder into the submarine's cozy cabin. Annie followed right behind him, her face full of pure wonder. The hatch closed above them with a soft thump, and their amazing adventure into the deep, dark sea finally began. Inside the submarine, the world turned quiet and blue. The only sounds were the gentle hum of the engine and the excited whispers of the children. Leo and Mia sat at the controls, surrounded by glowing screens and blinking lights. "And down we go," Mia announced cheerfully. The Neptune began its slow descent into the ocean's depths. Sunlight danced through the water above them, creating beautiful patterns on the walls of the cabin. Jack pressed his face against the thick glass of the porthole, watching as the world he knew slowly disappeared, replaced by an endless expanse of shimmering, mysterious blue water. As they went deeper, the light from the sun began to fade away. The world outside turned from a bright blue to a deep, dark navy. Leo switched on the submarine's powerful exterior lights, which cut through the darkness like two giant swords. Suddenly, the empty water was filled with life. Strange and wonderful sea creatures floated past their window. They saw a jellyfish that glowed with all the colors of the rainbow, pulsing gently as it moved. Annie gasped in delight, quickly grabbing her notebook to sketch the magical creature before it drifted away into the inky blackness. The journey continued downward, deeper and deeper into the midnight zone. Here, the creatures were even more peculiar. A fish with a long, dangling light on its head swam by, looking like a little lantern in the dark. This was an anglerfish, a creature Jack had only ever seen in his science books. He couldn't believe he was seeing a real one right outside his window. Mia explained that these creatures made their own light to survive in the complete darkness. The pressure outside was immense. But inside the Neptune, they were safe and warm, like being in their very own spaceship exploring a new planet. After what felt like a very long time, Leo pointed to one of the screens. "We are getting close to the ocean floor," he announced. "We're now more than 2 miles below the surface." A hush fell over the small cabin. The excitement was mixed with a feeling of awe and a little bit of fear. They were so far from home, in a place where no sunlight ever reached. The submarine's light scanned the dark seabed, revealing a vast, empty landscape of sand and silt. Everyone stared out the window, their eyes searching the darkness for any sign of the legendary ship they had come so far to find. The Neptune moved slowly and carefully across the ocean floor. The beams of light swept back and forth, cutting through the eternal night of the deep sea. The only thing they could see was the endless, soft sand. Jack's heart began to beat faster with every passing second. He felt a shiver of anticipation run down his spine. Was the ship really down here? Or was it just a story? Then, Mia's voice, barely a whisper, broke the silence. "Wait," she said, pointing ahead. "Look, over there!" Everyone leaned forward, squinting into the murky darkness, trying to see what she was pointing at. At first, it was just a dark shape, a shadow that was bigger and blacker than the surrounding water. It was a massive, looming presence that seemed to absorb the submarine's light. As the Neptune glided closer, the shape began to take form. Jack gasped. It was the bow of a ship. It was huge, much bigger than he had ever imagined. It rose from the seabed like a silent, sleeping giant. There it was, the Titanic. It wasn't just a picture in a book anymore, it was real, and it was right in front of them. Annie pressed her hand against the cold glass, her mouth open in silent wonder. The great ship was covered in rust that hung down like long orange icicles, which scientists called rusticles. It looked sad and ancient, a ghost from a long-lost time. The submarine's lights traveled up the side of the bow, revealing the railings where passengers might have once stood, looking out at the icy ocean. It was a powerful and solemn sight. No one spoke for a long time. They just floated there in their little submarine, staring at the famous shipwreck. It was both scary and beautiful at the same time, a reminder of the grand ship's incredible story and its tragic end. Leo guided the Neptune carefully alongside the massive vessel. They could see the empty holes where the ship's giant funnels used to be. They drifted over the main deck, where Jack could almost imagine the sounds of music and laughter from over 100 years ago. Now, only a profound silence remained. They saw a fallen mast and the ship's telemotor, where the brave helmsman would have stood. Seeing the ship so close made its story feel incredibly real and deeply sad. The children understood that this was more than just an adventure. It was a visit to a place of history and memory. As they explored the silent deck, Annie spotted something half buried in the silt. "Look!" she cried out, pointing with her finger. "What's that?" Leo skillfully maneuvered the submarine's robotic arm to get a closer look. It was a single leather shoe, perfectly preserved in the cold, dark water. Seeing such a personal item made everyone feel a deep connection to the people who had sailed on this ship. It wasn't just an old wreck, it was a place where real people had lived, dreamed, and faced a terrible tragedy. They saw plates and bottles, remnants of a life suddenly interrupted. Jack felt a wave of sadness wash over him. He thought about all the children who must have been on the Titanic just like them. He imagined them playing games on this very deck, laughing and running without a care in the world. Now everything was still and quiet, resting in the deep. Mia spoke softly into her headset. "This is why we explore," she said. "Not just to see, but to remember. We remember the people and we learn from the past." Jack knew she was right. This was a place that deserved respect and remembrance, a solemn memorial at the bottom of the sea. Their time at the shipwreck was coming to an end. Leo slowly began to guide the Neptune away from the Titanic. The children took one last long look at the majestic, ghostly ship as it began to fade back into the darkness. They watched until the last shadow of the great vessel was swallowed by the deep ocean, leaving only their light shining in the empty water. They were leaving the ship to its peaceful rest. The journey back to the surface was a quiet one. Jack and Annie were no longer just excited adventurers. They felt like they had become guardians of a very important story. When the Neptune finally broke through the surface, the bright sunshine felt warmer than ever before. They were back in their own world. That evening, Jack and Annie told their family and friends all about their incredible journey. They showed them Annie's drawings of the glowing jellyfish and the ghostly ship. They explained what they had learned about the ocean's secrets and the importance of remembering history. They promised they would never forget the silent, beautiful giant resting at the bottom of the sea, and they would always share its story so that no one else would forget either.